on the legislative credit against maintenance of effort spending from the state, yet we also don't receive reimbursement from the state for monies we have advanced for school construction projects. The County Council has never before exceeded the spending affordability guidelines, and even under the circumstances, we decline to exceed that level in the budget we adopt today. As I near the conclusion of this budget message, I want to thank my colleagues for their attention and hard work during this budget session. I also want to thank the county auditor staff for preparing the county's budget analysis packages, and our legislative central staff for their dedication throughout the year. I also want to thank the approximately 8,000 county employees for their service. These men and women serve the public each and every day with little to no fanfare or acknowledgement for their fine work. So today, on behalf of my colleagues, I thank all of you and express the County Council's sincere respect and appreciation of your dedication and service. During the budget hearings and our deliberations, a number of other specific issues came to our attention that warrant brief comment. These comments are set forth in Section 4 of this budget message. I would be remiss if I did not reiterate that Baltimore County faces difficult financial challenges ahead. We have substantial fixed structural costs and obligations, as well as infrastructure improvements, technology initiatives, and other capital projects that need to be funded each year. These are the costs of running a multi-billion-dollar government with complex needs. As school buildings and other public facilities age and need to be managed, repaired, and even replaced, and as overall costs increase, the challenge becomes even greater. It goes without saying that we need to balance spending with revenue. As we move forward, this council and the next county executive will need to make prioritized policy decisions that will continue to keep Baltimore County financially stable for future generations. In closing, I again want to pay a final tribute to our late county executive, Kevin Kamenetz. Indeed, he is gone, but he will certainly be remembered. He will be remembered for his 25 years of public service to this county. I can't think of a better way to keep his memory alive than for us to move forward, to make a sincere commitment to work together, and to make decisions that are for the betterment of Baltimore County. That truly is my hope. Finally, this Memorial Day holiday weekend, as you're enjoying time with your family and friends, please take a moment to give thought and thanks to the men and women who serve our great nation, and especially those who have lost their lives protecting us and our freedom. With that in mind, take a moment to remember Officer Amy Caprio and keep her family in your prayers. I thank you so much for attending this budget message, and may God continue to bless all of you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman. Yes, I'd like to make some remarks about the budget message.
Go right ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I do have a few concerns about some of the contents of the budget message. First of all, the reference to two highly placed state officials politicizing our school situation. And I'd just like to remind everyone that these two individuals, the public contacted them. I know in my own district, hundreds of people in my district contacted them, so they did come to Baltimore County. They did see the schools in question, and they did see the deplorable shape of these schools. So
And they gave us no money.
And I reject any idea that it was politicized. As far as money goes, the problem has been, and I'm glad that the chairman mentioned that he hopes the county's delegation of senators and delegates will make the issue of funding a priority in 2019. In fact, it should have been a priority of the administration and of our delegation in Annapolis to work together to get our state to understand our predicament, to understand that we had the second oldest inventory of buildings in the state of Maryland. The state of Maryland did give $1.1 billion in relief to Baltimore City because they had the oldest inventory of schools. And I believe that Baltimore County, I'm certainly not 1.1 billion, but we should have been pushing for some additional help concerning the situation we were in. As far as counties forward funding, Montgomery's done it, Howard's done it, Frederick's done it. A lot of these counties have forward funded the schools. And the last thing I want to say is regarding Lansdowne and Delaney. What is in this message is a recommendation. Is that correct?
Yes.
It's a recommendation.
That's my thoughts.
Okay. So it's my hope. I think the chairman of the school board's here. Am I right? Raise your hand if you're. Yeah. Okay, good. And the school board understands the fiscal situation of our schools, understands the needs of our schools, and I think it's best left to the school board to make decisions as to where we go as far as school construction goes. And I would hope that the $30 million that's in the budget, that it'll be used as intended with the budget that was introduced. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Katz. Certainly appreciate your comments. You're certainly entitled to them. But the fact still remains, I guess, for to take exception to one thing. The county council is the fiscal authority in Baltimore County. Only we can collect taxes, raise taxes, and we're responsible for the money. So I can appreciate, and I have nothing but the utmost respect for the members of the Board of Education. They have a very important job and a very difficult job. But to be quite frank, their job is to manage the funds that we give them. They can't raise additional monies because that's not within their charge. On that note, I'll move right along to now call for bills for final reading and vote. Mrs. Secretary, please read the first bill.
Bill 27-18, Circuit Court Security Grant.
Chief Sheridan? Oh, yeah. Tim Sheridan. No, I have a badge.
Chairman Jones, members of the council, Tim Sheridan from the Baltimore County Circuit Court, and on behalf of the judges and with the support of the administration, come here to seek the county council's approval of a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $21,720. The supplemental appropriation is in the form of a security grant from the Administrative Office of Courts, and it will be used to upgrade security in the clerk's office at the juvenile door window. It would create a more secure area for the workers and a better access to the public. If the council has any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Any questions from the members? No questions? Mr. Secretary? Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 27-18.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk? Aye. Mrs. Allman?
Aye.
Mr. Katz?
Aye.
Mr. Morris?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Krenz?
Aye. Bill 27-18 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Bill 28-18, sponsored by Council Members Katz and Morris, Medical Cannabis Dispensaries.
Who will take this?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is simply a corrected bill that states that the dispensary for cannabis can't be within 500 feet of a daycare center. We don't allow it 500 feet from the school, and so we're just adding a daycare center.
No comment? Are there any questions or comments from the members?
Mr. Chair, I have one question.
Yes.
Just clarification from our legal advisors. Just to make sure, this bill has provisions that make this prescriptive. It's not looking backwards. Anything that's in the pipeline or anything that's done now when it's applied to this, is that correct?
The bill is prospective only.
Any additional questions? Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 28-18.
Mr. Katz?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mrs. Bowman?
Aye.
Mrs. Evans?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye. Bill 28-18 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next bill, please.
Bill 29-18, sponsored by Councilman Crandall, commercial recreational facilities.
Councilman Grant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bill 2918 amends the definition of the term commercial recreation facilities that is already found in the Baltimore County zoning regulations. I think all of us as council members have vacant commercial property in our districts, and retail is certainly facing a huge challenge not only in Baltimore County but elsewhere with the pressure that brick and mortar stores are undertaking through e-commerce. So this idea of experiential retail, which means people going to climb rock walls and go to trampoline parks and Pilates classes and kickboxing classes. These things weren't around when the Baltimore County zoning regulations were originally written, so some of these uses were not contemplated. As I said in the work session, I doubt anyone in the 1960s or 50s when these regulations were written that someone would think that someone would pay for their child to come and bounce on a trampoline in their store. So this bill would update the definition of commercial recreation facilities. It would also, and I say this selfishly, it would also help to fill an empty or vacant big box with a trampoline park in the community of Rosedale, which we're excited about. So I think that this bill is one step in probably many steps as we contemplate the new uses that are coming about for our retail centers in Baltimore County, and I appreciate my colleagues' support on the bill.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Councilwoman.
Mr. Crandall, I'd like to thank you for this legislation. I think this is a very creative way to help all of us who have those vacant properties in our districts. And I really do appreciate your doing this.
Well, thank you, Councilwoman. And just, what the bill also does is it provides certainty to the business community that these uses would be allowed in these certain zones. We found that in the trampoline parks and some of the other experiential retail that has been approved in Baltimore County or has opened up, they all went through a different process. So there wasn't a defined process on how these things, these new uses could be permitted. So we'll provide that necessary certainty to the business community.
Good work.
Thank you.
Any more comment? Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 29-18.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mrs. Bowman?
Aye.
Mr. Katz?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mrs. Evans?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Bill 29-18 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next bill, please.
Bill 30-18 is sponsored by Councilwoman Bevins, zoning regulations, uses in BL zones.
Councilwoman Bevins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bill 30-18 permits certain manufacturing light uses to a property that is zoned business light. The bill's effect is limited to the Maryland 43 overlay district in Middle River. This legislation would allow property owned by a local business that is currently zoned BL to use ML zoning for 2 flex buildings that will house 8 to 9 businesses each. This will take currently undeveloped property off the market and put it to commercial use, which will provide jobs and prevent the property from ever being residential housing. The bill will help the property conform with the other zoning on Maryland 43 overlay, bringing more uniformity to the 43 overlay district. Business is booming on Route 43. Thousands of great paying jobs have flocked to Route 43, which is helping put Middle River on the map again. This legislation has the support of both the Essex Middle River Civic Council, which represents 23 communities in Middle River, and the Middle River Roundtable. In fact, the community had significant input on this legislation, and every one of the community's concerns were addressed. 2 of those concerns were, for instance, that this bill would not affect, would affect only properties within the Earl and property zone BL as of the bill's introduction date on April 15, 2018. This bill is a result of how the process is supposed to work. All stakeholders were involved in the drafting. The community was given time to review it, ask questions, and have all their concerns addressed. Middle River is quickly moving from a hidden gem to a model of how smart planning with active community involvement can truly transform an entire region of the county for the better. Decades ago, Eastern Baltimore County was not only the economic engine that powered this county, but the whole region. With all the progress on Route 43, Middle River, and Trade Point, Atlantic, and Sparrows Point, it is retaining that power and reputation again. This bill is another part of the process that is helping return Middle River to the vibrant part of the community, and I appreciate my colleagues' support.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Yes, there is an amendment. Mr. Secretary?
There's an amendment in your books, Mr. Chairman. It's sponsored by Councilwoman Bevins. It's a technical amendment to correct the reference in the bill to the Maryland 43 overlay district, which is the correct reference in the zoning regulations. It just conforms the reference.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, we have a vote on I have a motion to approve the amendment.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the amendments to Bill 30-18.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. Allman?
Aye.
Mr. Katz?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye. Ayes have it. The amendment is passed. Are there any questions or comments from the members before we call the vote on Bill 30-18? Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on 30-18 as amended.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Katz?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk? Aye. Mrs. Allman?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Bill 30-18 as amended is passed. Mr. Secretary, next bill, please.
Bill 31-18 is sponsored by Councilman Marks. County Attorney, notice of significant litigation.
Mr. Marks, Councilman Marks.
Thank you very much. This legislation improves transparency and oversight over major litigation approved by the county. It requires the county attorney to issue an annual report on major litigation and provides a mechanism in which the council can vote on legal settlements of a certain size that also require future legislative action. I want to thank the county attorney and his staff from the county executive's office for their consultation with me as we drafted this bill.
Understand there is an amendment.
There's an amendment sponsored by Councilman Quirk, or actually 2 separate amendments. One is to increase from $100,000 to $500,000 the threshold amount above which the county attorney must report on cases that exceed $500,000, the settlement for which might exceed that. And the second amendment is to strike the provision of the bill that would authorize the council to actually approve or disapprove of certain settlements.
Are there any questions, comments on the bill or the amendments?
Yeah, I'll just say, Councilman Marks and I were working on this, trying to make it something I think we could get bipartisan support on. So I do appreciate your conversations, David, and I'll smooth the amendments.
Okay. The amendments have been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the amendments to Bill 30-18. 31-18.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. Allen?
Aye.
Mr. Katz?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
The amendments to Bill 31-18 is passed. Any questions or comments before we call the roll on 31-18 as amended?
I'll motion as amended.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mrs. Allen?
Aye.
Mr. Katz?
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Ayes have it, Bill 31-18 as amended is passed. Mr. Secretary, next bill, please.
Bill 32-18, the annual budget and appropriation ordinance.
That is for, you want, you're good? You're all good? Okay, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 32-18.
Wait a minute. Don't we have an amendment?
The amendments that the chairman referred to in his budget message are already reflected in the bill. It's the $4 million reduction which the chairman referred to.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a comment.
Go right ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last year I voted against the budget because of my concerns regarding school system funding. Specifically, there's a group of individuals in the county who had worked a long time taking a look at the STAT program and taking a look at other needs in our county, such as the need for more social workers, guidance counselors, and social workers, guidance counselors. So what the problem was is they recommended reducing some of the STAT funding to fund these other positions I just mentioned because the students coming into our Baltimore County school system were having more problems. They have more needs. And the thought is, if we can help these students early on, then we're going to helpfully make sure they have a good life. And if they don't, it could end up costing taxpayers quite a bit of money. This year, thankfully, there are additional resources for the schools in the form of guidance counselors, psychologists, etc. And I would hope this is just the beginning of a program that will help students coming in our schools that are having, whether it be economic problems, personal problems, whatever, because we do need to resolve these problems now. I did want to say that I want to thank the auditors for their work on the STAT program. The auditors have recommended a cut of $14 million of the STAT program. There's a lot of public concern about it. It deals with the resignation of our former superintendent and concerns about how much we're paying for the devices, etc. I think the only regret I have is that we, as a council, did not adopt that amendment, which would have set into place a reduction in the STAT budget, and the school system would have had to reorganize that program. But I can assure you it certainly was doable, and this is a program that needs to be looked at very carefully. We know that an independent audit firm has finally been hired by the Board of Education of Baltimore County to take a look at expenditures, etc. So I wait for that report and its relationship to the STAT program and the purchasing. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Katz. Any more comments, questions before we call the vote?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Councilman.
I would like to offer an amendment to Bill 3218, and it is specific to Program 57, the Housing Office. I'm going to recommend a cut of $4,078,223. That is for the Housing Choice Voucher Program. It's an increase of over $4 million to that program. And I would like an amendment to provide that cut.
What is the amount, Councilman?
$4,078,223.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Chairman, move the table.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to table.
That motion is not debatable.
We will call the roll on the table.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mrs. Norman?
Aye.
Mr. Katz?
No.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
No.
Mrs. Evans?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
No. The motion has been tabled. Any more questions or comments before we call the roll? Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Quirk?
Aye.
Mrs. Allen?
Aye.
Mr. Katz?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mrs. Evans?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye. Ayes have it. Bill 32-18 is passed. Next item, Mr. Secretary.
Bill 33-18, the property tax.
Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman? Yes. I spent quite a bit of time with Lauren of our audit office and worked on it until about 2:30 this morning, so hopefully I'll be awake and alert. But when you take a look at the budget that's before you, well, first of all, let me ask, when you get your property tax bills, especially for those of us that live within the URDL, our tax bills go up substantially in some cases. And most of that increase, in many cases, is coming from water and sewerage increases. And the first thing, I don't think I've heard any number in regard to how much our water and sewerage costs are due to go up this year. And that's usually made.
I don't think that, I'm just curious, what would that have to do with the
Well,
vote
it's
right
the
here?
bill. It's the bill that they're going to get. When they get their income, when they get their property tax bill, part of it, a large part of that property tax bill is the water and sewer tax.
I don't think it's a large.
15, 12, and 8% in the last 3 years. It's been a substantial increase, and it actually has gone up more than the property taxes. So I was just wondering what the rate is for this year.
I don't think it's necessary that we talk about that now. The question before us is
But shouldn't that be public?
Well, I'm sure it will be, but right now, I'm not going to ask someone to just answer a question that they may not have the answer to, and it may not be accurate. The question before us is the bill in front of us.
May I ask if that's the case, that there is no answer yet?
Well, why don't we,
Because I do have comments about the property tax bill, and the point I'm trying to make is that the water and sewerage fees are a large part of the property tax bill that we all get. And
it is a part.
it's a large part. Now, just a moment, it's just not determined yet, that's all.